In the place named Kanto, Japan, there is a huge yakuza clan named Sanokai, which controls the area as well as oversees the many smaller clans under it. Sanokai is chaired by Sakichi as the big boss. Sakichi has a confidant named Kato, who has quite an influential position. Under the Sanokai clan, there were several smaller clans, one of which was the Ikemoto clan, and its leader was Ikemoto himself. Ikemoto mostly takes care of his clan, together with an assistant named Ozawa. Meanwhile, Ikemoto has a clan branch, and its leader is Otomo, one of the most reliable yakuza. He also has right-hand men who are ready to solve any problem. Otomo's right-hand man is named Mizuno, so in a way, Sanokai has quite a large territory in Kanto. At a big meeting held by Sanokai, the big boss was annoyed because Ikemoto let the Mures clan do the drug business in the Sanokai area. The Mures clan could be said to be the enemy of Sanokai because they refused to join. For that, the big boss ordered Kato to order Ikemoto to stop cooperating with the Mures, including getting involved in the illegal drug business that they manage. But the truth is, Ikemoto was already involved in the business and didn't want to lose. Therefore, Ikemoto sent Otomo to make a small fuss in the Mures area to show the big boss of Sanokai that Ikemoto did not have a good relationship with Mures. Besides, Ikemoto didn't want to lose profits from selling illegal drugs. Otomo immediately planned his actions. He also involved a corrupt policeman, named Kataoka, with the intention that he didn't want his business to have problems with the police, especially since Kataoka was the head of the police department. Otomo gave Kataoka a bribe as a guarantee that everything would go without any problems. Otomo then ordered one of his men, whom we will call Mizura, to go to the clubbing place of Mures. Besides carrying out a mission from Otomo, Mizura also wanted to sleep with a prostitute there. However, Mures' men, whom we will call Kenta, gave a very high price, which made Mizura not be able to pay. Then Mizura took Kenta to his office under the pretext of taking money to pay for a prostitute, when in fact the office was the headquarters of the Otomo clan, and Mizuno and other Otomo subordinates were already there. Kenta was shocked and scared. Mizuno gave the requested amount of money at Mures' clubbing place that he visited before, but Kenta refused to accept the money, knowing that it was Otomo's base, who was Ikemoto's subordinate. He didn't want to make a fuss, but Mizuno forced him to take the money. Kenta immediately ran away and was scared. Mizuno is quite scary indeed, so it's not surprising that he is suitable to work for Otomo, who is also very cold and sometimes also cruel. After that incident, Mures was furious because one of his members had deceived the Otomo clan's men, and then the Mures immediately hit his men. Later, Mures ordered another of his men, Kimura, to cut off Kenta's finger and then send it to Otomo as an apology. This is a tradition passed down by the yakuza. After cutting off the little finger, Kimura and Kenta went to the Otomo clan headquarters. Mures then called Ikemoto by phone and apologized for Kenta's behavior to a member of the Otomo clan. He also said that he had sent his men to personally apologize to Otomo. Kimura spoke directly to Otomo and apologized while offering Kenta's severed finger. Besides that, he also returned the money received the other day. Unfortunately, the apology was rejected. Kimura also got angry and finally got into an argument with Mizuno. Mizuno didn't want Kenta's finger. He wanted Kimura's finger, but Mizuno wanted him to cut it off with a blunt cutter knife. Kimura was in pain and couldn't cut his finger, but finally he did. Kimura then held his face because of the pain. Kenta then asked Kimura to leave. It seemed that Kimura was very angry with Otomo. That night, Otomo came home with his wife. Whether she is Otomo's wife or just prostitute girl, what was clear was that the girl was much younger than Otomo. Kimura and Kenta went back to face Mures, with Kimura's face bandaged. Mures was actually annoyed because Kimura couldn't apologize properly, and for that, Mures decided to come to Ikemoto himself to apologize in person. Ikemoto pretended not to know, even though it was very clear that Otomo did this on his orders. Here, Mures also asked Ikemoto about the drug business agreement with the big boss of Sanokai, but Ikemoto answered that the boss wanted 50% profit sharing if he wanted Mures' drugs to be circulated in the Sanokai area. Here we know that Ikemoto cunningly blackmailed Mures about the drug business without the knowledge of the big boss. This is the reason why the big boss was angry at the beginning of the movie, because Ikemoto was very cunning and secretly allowed Mures' drug business in the Sanokai area, without knowing of the big boss. In conclusion, Ikemoto deceived the big boss and also Mures for personal gain. Mures was annoyed because the 50% profit sharing was not in accordance with their initial agreement. Here, he knew that Ikemoto was acting casually toward him. On the other hand, Otomo and his men, also irritated with Ikemoto's two-facedness, secretly devised a plan to act when Ikemoto went too far. One day, when Mizura was enjoying drugs in a certain place, he was suddenly attacked and fainted. It turns out that it was Kimura and Kenta who attacked and kidnapped Mizura. Kimura is annoyed and doesn't accept it after his face is disfigured by Otomo. He ordered his men to beat Mizura until he told him Otomo's address. Because Mizura did not provide any information, in the end he was beaten to death. and then his body was dumped in front of the Otomo clan headquarters. On the other side, the big boss is very angry with Ikemoto and also with Ozawa, regretting the death of Mizura, who died at the hands of Muray's men. The big boss wants Ikemoto and Ozawa to take care of everything, and don't let anyone underestimate the greatness of the Sanokai clan. Not only Ikemoto got angry, Kato was also slapped on the head. Ozawa then came to Otomo and asked him to take revenge on the Muray's clan. Otomo also agreed to the request. That night, Otomo's men came to the Muray's clubhouse to look for Kimura and Kenta, but based on information, Kenta intended to return to his village for fear of Otomo's clan. Meanwhile, in the other place, Kenta was preparing to return home and brought his wife's credit card with him. He fled because he was afraid of being the target of revenge from the Otomo clan, who were very cruel. But in the end, Kenta couldn't go home because the incident prompted Muray's to urge Ikemoto to quickly solve the problem together because both sides had lost members. But Ikemoto didn't want to take any chances and ultimately assumed that all of this mess was caused by Muray's men. The next day, Muray's met the big boss and apologized because Muray's men had caused trouble. The big boss forgave Muray's easily. He also told Muray's to settle down with Ikemoto like a brother. After that, Muray's left. After Muray's left, Kato scolded Ikemoto and ordered him to cause more chaos against the Muray's clan. It turned out that the innocence of the big boss was just a pretense. Ikemoto then called Otomo and told him to make another mess for the Muray's clan. Otomo returns to convince Ikemoto, because after all, Muray's still has kinship ties with Ikemoto. But Ikemoto still wants Otomo to attack Muray's. The next day, Otomo, Mizuno, and their men came to see Muray's, who was at the dental clinic. Secretly, Otomo and Mizuno were able to infiltrate the room where Muray's was being examined. Muray's was shocked when he saw Otomo and Mizuno already pointing a gun at himself. Without saying a word, Otomo immediately gave Muray's the most valuable lesson: this is it. With his mouth shattered, Muray's met Kato and told him everything, but Kato pretended he didn't know anything. He also said that Ikemoto never listens to the big boss and likes to act as he pleases, even though we know that he and Otomo did all that on the orders of the big boss that were conveyed by Kato. Kato then ordered Muray's to meet Ikemoto and told him to pretend to be retiring from the yakuza and say it in front of Ikemoto. Muray's then met Ikemoto, and at the same place, there was Ozawa and also Otomo. Muray's said nothing because it was difficult to speak in such a state of mouth. Muray's then followed Kato's advice and pretended to retire from the yakuza. After Muray's and Ikemoto left the meeting place, Ozawa secretly approached Otomo and said that he really wanted Ikemoto to retire so he could get promoted. Otomo didn't really pay attention to Ozawa's talk, and not long after that, Otomo returned home. On the way, he realized that Kimura was following him from behind. Otomo and Mizuno stopped Kimura's car, but Mizuno deliberately let Kimura run away in fear. As a result of the shooting incident, Kato gave a bribe to the corruption police, namely Kataoka, not to be arrested. Kato then met the big boss. Here, the big boss planned his next plan. He wanted to expel Ikemoto from the Sanokai clan. Kato only said yes when he heard the plan. At the police station, Kataoka interrogates Otomo, but this is only a formality so that the police will not become suspicious because Kataoka has been bribed by Kato, and finally Otomo goes free from punishment. But Otomo was annoyed by Kataoka's angry acting. Otomo then hit Kataoka before leaving. Meanwhile, because Muray's was pretending to retire, his territory was controlled by the Ikemoto clan, which made several drug dealers have to deposit money with Ikemoto. Mizuno, who represented the clan Yutomo, also participated in checking the dealer. Here, the Otomo clan received information from one of the drug dealers that if there was an embassy whose ambassador allowed his client to consume illegal drugs in his territory, and the embassy was the Ghana embassy, the police could not arrest the ambassador because his place was in the embassy, which is an area outside the territory of the police. The Otomo clan takes advantage of this information. He came to meet the ambassador of Ghana, whose name was Michael. Otomo plans to open a casino business in the territory of the Ghana embassy. In the end, Michael was forced to agree to work with the Otomo clan because if he refused, Mizuno could kill him. Not enough with that, Mizuno framed Michael by making it look like he killed a prostitute. That way, the Otomo clan had collateral, which made it difficult for Michael to betray. Even though the murder of the prostitute was just a play, the woman was not really dead. The casino business was running without any trouble and was bustling with visitors. Ikemoto also came to gamble at the casino, but it seemed Ikemoto was starting to think about getting involved in this casino business. A few weeks later, the casino's revenue decreased somewhat due to Ikemoto's frequent visits. Ishihara reported this to Otomo. The casino belonging to the Otomo clan was discovered by the big boss, Ishihara, who then became an intermediary. After everyone left, the big boss whispered to Ozawa, provoking him to rush to find a way to get rid of Ikemoto so he could get promoted. One night, Otomo tries to persuade Ikemoto, who comes to the casino too often and makes the other customers uncomfortable, and the income decreases, but Ikemoto doesn't care what Otomo says. On the other hand, Michael protested to Ishihara because his share of the income was too small. He asked for a 50% share and said he would report to the police if Ishihara did not give him what he wanted. Then, Ishihara reminded Michael that he was dealing with the yakuza. As a result, Ishihara put the snake in Michael's bathroom, then locked the door until Michael agreed to his 20% share. If it turns out that Ishihara is playing behind the scenes, he corrupted the proceeds from the casino. Besides that, the Otomo clan, represented by Mizuno, is still visiting one by one the business areas that were previously controlled by Muraise, and they have claimed the places. In the end, Mizuno found out that there was a ramen shop that was also a place to buy and sell illegal drugs. Initially, the owner of the ramen shop did not admit it, but finally did. It turned out that Muraise was secretly still doing the drug business, even though he had said he was going to retire. Ikemoto, who knew that Muraise was still active in the drug business, then ordered Otomo to kill him. Otomo refused to involve his men in killing again. He didn't want to lose anyone anymore. Because of that, Ikemoto finally asked Otomo to kill Muraise himself. Otomo then came to see Muraise and some of his men at a public bath, and then absolutely Otomo interrogated for the murder, and again, Otomo managed to escape from criminal punishment due to a lack of evidence. Kato told the big boss everything about Muraise's death and Otomo's release from punishment. But here it can be seen that the big boss actually changed his mind and wanted to kill Otomo. He didn't want Sanokai to get involved in this trouble again. On that day, Otomo was irritated by Ikemoto, who wanted to get rid of him. Ikemoto said it was just a formality, but Otomo still didn't accept it, because later Ikemoto would take care of his territory. For that, Otomo intends to cut off his finger, then met the big boss. The next day, Otomo went to the big boss's place to apologize. Here, we can see that the most cunning person is actually the big boss. He told Otomo that the idea to get rid of him was Ikemoto's idea. Then he ordered Otomo to destroy Ikemoto, then make Ozawa his helper. Even the big boss gives him money. Shortly after the night came, at Otomo's casino, Ikemoto was busy gambling. After that, Otomo came and it happened. Otomo intends to kill Ikemoto, who has repeatedly lied and betrayed him. Otomo also kills Ikemoto in an unusual way. Ishihara brings Ikemoto's body. He also forces Michael to come along. Arriving at the place where the bodies were buried, everyone left, leaving Michael to dig the ground alone. This was done so that Michael could not mess with Otomo. The next day, the big boss returned to execute his cunning strategy. He ordered Ozawa to kill Otomo and avenge Ikemoto, and before taking over Ikemoto's clan, Kato was also ordered to help Ozawa. I don't know what the big boss's purpose was, but one thing is clear, this person is very cunning. That day, Ozawa carried out his plan. He sent people to kill some of Otomo's men to lure him out. When Otomo found out about this, he was ready to go to war, but he ordered his confidant, Mizuno, to hide. This was done so that if Otomo died, Mizuno could continue in his position as clan head. The next day, Otomo returned to meet Kaoka, who said that the big boss had tricked Otomo. Kataki also asked Otomo to surrender to the police so he wouldn't die. Otomo got mad because he didn't want to just give up, and the two of them had a fight. It turns out that Kaoka is now completely under Kato's control, and now that Otomo is truly alone, everyone is cornering them. Kato ordered one of his men to bomb the place where Otomo was. Otomo came out of the bathroom, and his men were dead. Not only in that place, but Otomo's headquarters were also attacked. Meanwhile, Ishihara looks betrayed. He shoots one of Otomo's men. Not only that, but Otomo's girlfriend has also been killed. One by one, the Otomo people began to be killed by Ozawa's men. Meanwhile, Mizuno obeys Otomo's order to hide, and he hides at his girlfriend's house. However, that night, he was suddenly held at gunpoint by two people. It turned out that the location of his hiding place was leaked by Ishihara, who was then killed by Mizuno. The next day, Kaoka came to see Otomo, who was on the run. He persuaded Otomo to surrender himself so as not to be killed by the big boss. It's better to disappear than die in an unknown way, and also, not a single member of Otomo's men remains. Otomo is only able to surrender now. The big boss was happy because all the problems were solved. In addition, he also managed to deceive Ozawa. He has only been used as a tool to kill Otomo. In the end, Ozawa's fate was like any other. But suddenly, Kato shot the big boss and his guards, and Kato made it look as if the big boss and Ozawa were killing each other. He really intended to kill the big boss and replace him from the beginning, but while in prison, Otomo had to face Kimura again, who was full of revenge. He stabbed Otomo in the back, but of course Otomo didn't die, because this movie is a trilogy, because at the end of the movie, Kaoka tells Kato, who is currently the big boss, that Otomo is dead, and there we also see Ishihara rising in rank and taking Kato's previous position, and the movie ends.